So we have something new and different today. Some announcements. My supplier that I get these helmet halves from, he is out on surgery right now, so he's not going to be able to get back for a couple months to start producing these again, as well as some of the other armor pieces that I use for different builds. So certain other helmets and things like that are going to have to be put on hold for a little bit. This helmet was going to be the Mandalorian helmet. Just because of the shape and some of the new work that I figured out that I need to put into the cheeks, because looking at them, there's a lot more work that's going to need to be done to those cheeks than I initially thought. A lot of them have multiple angles on one small piece of steel, and so just that one small piece needs to be bent in certain ways that steel doesn't like to bend. So I can do it. The problem is I'm going to have to hot bend them. I'm going to have to heat them up and then bend them, cut wedges out, bring them together, weld it, grind it smooth. There's a lot of little steps that just go into getting these things bent in certain ways. I'm going to mitigate it a little bit by changing the design of the helmet slightly. Instead of it being very rounded in the front within the angular cheek plates, mine's going to be a little more angular, so a little bit more little straighter angles on it, still maintaining the same cheek plates, but it's going to look a little bit different. I actually like the design that I'm thinking of a little bit more. It's a little more my flavor rather than just perfectly copying Paz Vizsla's helmet. So that's going to take a little while just for me to figure out and get those angles down, but that should make it a little bit easier. And the parts that will still have to be bent multiple directions, I'll get my forge upgraded and ready to go for that. I need another burner to get that done, but that shouldn't take more than a week or two to get a hold of. I'll also be getting my torch, my oxyacetylene torch, up and running. I just need to go get some new tanks, maybe get these ones certified or just pay the fee. So I'll have that up and running in the next couple weeks. I got a new welder that's going to allow me to do a lot more of the intricate welds, but I need to go and get a gas tank for that and get argon so I can TIG weld on the helmets of that. It'll get rid of these big, giant, ugly welds. Can do much smaller, finer welds, and that's going to really help on those angle points. You are walking. It's very good. All right. So all that stuff's going to take time to get a hold of, time to set up. And my supplier, I can't even get the parts. Oh, that was the other thing. With this helmet, I'm not pleased with the shape that it's turned out in. It's fine for like a medieval style helmet, like the Corinthian or some of the Wasteland ones. But this helmet I bought to fit pretty close to my head, just with the amount of padding that would be appropriate for like one of these helmets. However, because of where it sits, as it comes down, those metal cheek plates would just be smashing into my cheeks because they have those big indentations. So this helmet, it's a different shape slightly. It's a little more rounded. It's not a perfect circle on the Mandalorian one, but it's a little more rounded. So I'll need to order bigger size of these from my supplier, but again, he's out due to surgery. So when he's off of that, I'll have to order some bigger ones. Then I can get the shape that I want. And because I'm going to be putting in all this extra work into those cheek plates and that, I want to do it right, start to finish. So just for right now, this specific helmet's going to be put on hold. The new one, as soon as I'm able to order bigger helmet halves, then I'll be able to start that one back up. So for right now, Mandalorian helmet is put on hold. But to keep with the theme, we might as well start on the chest armor, which I started a little bit today, just for making a pattern. You just take your basic designs, your basic shapes, and you cut them out, and you measure them, cut them out of cardboard or like cardstock or whatever you want. Sometimes you can use paper. I prefer something a little more rigid, since what I'm going to be working with is rigid. And so then you cut it, shape it, look in the mirror, decide where you want to modify it, and then start adding. If you have angle points, like on the side coming down here, then you just put a little bit of tape there, and you make sure to space it out just a hair so you can actually articulate it. So this will start to wrap around like that. These open gaps here, if you look at Paz Vizsla's armor, they made it look extra thick by adding little pieces here so the armor kind of wraps around a little bit of itself. So once I get this fit and in the right shape out of metal, then you come in and you shore up those gaps with a little harsher angle coming down there to fill it in. So this will have a piece of steel coming around there, almost at a 90 off of that, just to give it that depth, and that'll make the edges of this more rigid because they have another angle point coming up across, and then you brace it on the inside. So for today, this is what we're going to be working on. I didn't have a lot of time today to start setting this up, so this chest piece I'm happy with. This piece I'm pretty happy with. This piece needs to be modified just a little bit more. So we're going to be cutting out this one and this one for sure. So for now, I'll clean off my desk. All right, and I do have metal. I actually got a hold of the metal to finish up the helmets, but like I said, I want to wait and do it right, out of the correct material and in the design that I want. So we have the steel, we're just waiting on the rest of it. But the other steel that I have there will be the perfect thickness for this armor. It's a little bit thinner than what I wanted to use on the helmets, but put together with this and braced on the backside, it's going to be plenty strong. So first things first is we're going to cut this piece out. So I'll remove my piece here. Attempt not to tear it. All right. All right. This is going to be maybe loud, pulling this piece of steel out. Okay. Immediately, metal splinter in my finger from the gloves. So, I really need to get better gloves. So this is our steel. I will mark it on this upper piece. Try to keep all of our cuts on one side just so it's easier to count for everything. You don't want to cut, a piece obviously out of the middle, but you don't want to skip around to the different edges because then you won't finish the piece. At least. All right, so this will fit nicely right there. You can actually use the factory edge. Good old ready mark. Okay, we have our piece. So now this would be cutting wheel work. So I'm going to have to mute for that, but yeah, I'm gonna use the cutting wheel, I think. I could potentially use a jigsaw. That's kind of a pain. So I'm just gonna use the grinding wheel on it. I'll just have to turn the grinder to the side and make my cuts through. Make it a little big because it leaves kind of jagged cuts. Soon, hopefully, I can get a plasma cutter, which will make this 10 times easier. But for now, I'll get this set up first, and then I'm gonna have to mute for that part. So make sure I'm gonna do 3 cut. I'll do this cut, and this little angle point. There we go. That should help the metal not vibrate as much. All right, I'm gonna mute for this cutting because it sounds horrible through the microphone. Okay, got that cut out. So, some of the stuff I was doing, I got it mostly cut out, but when you come to these little inner corners like this, because that wheel's round, you have to overcut. You can see here, well, maybe you can, but you kind of overcut a little bit when you get to an angle point. Because of the rounded wheel, it won't cut that whole corner unless you go past it. Then the radius will go past where you actually need to cut. On the inside of these, you can't do that because that obviously will cut into your material. So I just get them close and then take a jigsaw and just hit those little corners just to completely detach it. I put this across it to keep it from, when you get close to the end, it flexing down, because that can either catch the cutting wheel, it can bend your material, it could have all sorts of issues. So if you clamp it to the main piece on either side and then use your smaller clamps to clamp the piece to your actual project, it makes a bridge essentially. Not only does that make your piece more rigid so it doesn't vibrate as much when it's hanging out here in the open so I can cut it, but it helps the other things like I was saying. It falling and flexing all over the place. Makes it all more predictable. And then this just on there, same thing. Cuts down on the vibrations. So now should it come completely apart. There we go. There's our piece. And this steel seems pretty thin and flexible in that, as you can see the sheet moving around. But when you get these smaller pieces, obviously they're much more rigid. And when you start adding on, I don't know what I was doing there. When you start adding on stuff like those other pieces to the sides and those pieces coming off to shore up the gaps, that just gives it so much more strength. All right, so here's our piece. See, that's now pretty rigid. It's gonna sit up about there. So, gonna sit there. These pieces are gonna come off and wrap around this way. Obviously this side goes the other way, but this does come all the way up pretty high, because this armor doesn't have like a separate like gorget or neck cover. Some of the armors, like Boba Fett's original armor was super sketchily lightweight, but some of the other kits that have come out similar to his will have either the two sides will come together kind of low, and then there'll be an actual like piece that just kind of a collar that covers the neck that comes around. This one doesn't have that. It comes up real high here and then has shoulders that round to the back piece. And then these ones that come to the side, and then there's like a layered belly guard that comes off of it. I'm going to change it up a little bit, because even on his, the armor stops here and stops like here. So it's just attached to the front. I like my armor to be a lot more encompassing, going all the way around. One, I think it looks better. And two, it's more protection. It makes more sense to me. So, all right, we have our piece cut out. You can see I went a little wide on some of these edges because we want to take it down and essentially get rid of any of the Sharpie. So looking all the way around this thing, I have some of the Sharpie to take off. So we're going to use that with a grinding wheel. And yeah, we'll get it all cleaned up. get it pretty close. I think too, about here in this upper part, I'm going to put a little angle in it. I'm going to bend just this upper part back a little bit so it sits not quite so angled out, but kind of curves down just a hair. And right there, that's where, about in the sternum, is where that, oh hell, I always forget what it's called. The diamond in their chest, the little one right there will be right there, about sternum height. So yeah, just below that little angle point. I think that'll look good. Then I have to do some research to see, he's got the 2 lines here, and then like a little, looks like a little power pack or something up on the top. And then down here, there's like some other little doodads, or maybe it's this side, some little doodads on there that I want to do some just quick research to see what all those individual parts mean. I know the diamond in the middle is the pretty standard, but I want to see if these, like the little details, are specific to Paz Vizsla. If that's the case, I'm going to change it up and have my own on there. Or if that's like kind of incorporated into Mandalorian armor. I know these up here, you can see those on like Boba Fett's and that too, so that might be just a part of their armor. All little things to research to make sure I do it right. So, alright, we're going to clean this up on the grinder. I'm probably going to leave this big giant hazard of metal here for now because we still have to cut out those little pieces. Get this big old kidney stabber a little safer. Alright, I'm going to mute for the work on cleaning it up. All right. We got our small little chest piece. It's going to sit up about there. It's just a relatively small piece because it's only a part of the greater chest piece that wraps around. So this is that front plate that has the diamond in the middle of it. So, because I want it to sit there. I put the diamond in my sternum, which is perfect. I think it's somewhere in here. Oh yeah, we can also compare it to our cutout here, and we got it pretty close with all that grinder work. It's pretty spot on to our little form here. So that's good. If I ever need to make another one, I know I have this that's sized to me, obviously, but I would just have somebody, if I was making this for somebody else, I would have them measure about on nipple line. I think I just have them measure from nipple to nipple would give me about there. So then I'd just add on a few inches. So if they're bigger, then add on a little more there. If they're a smaller person, bring it in. Probably height from this little indentation in the throat down to right underneath their sternum. So right where the sternum begins, right below that. Take that measurement, and that should give me my height and this width here. Close enough that when I make this and get the wrap around to it, it should fit most people. So I just adjust that from there. But this would only be for, obviously, this chest piece. But I will be keeping those molds, or those templates. So, all right, we have our front little piece here. Before I put this this angle point in there to bring it in, I want to add on these corners, these parts here. That wrap around. You can see I don't love the angle of this one. This piece may need to change. I looked at it in the mirror earlier. Try to work on this as much as I can during the day because just cutting out the forms isn't very interesting. But all right, this piece though, I am happy with because that's the angle that I want there. It'll be that, and then the belly plates go behind it in kind of a layer, and then a strip of just like laminated. So, all right, I think this piece is good to cut out. And the good thing about working with steel too is this piece, if I don't like it, I can just cut off or grind off. If the worst case scenario I needed to add more down here, I could technically, like if I had to add more down here, I could technically take another piece and weld it in there and then clean it up and it would look like one piece. I have enough steel of this stuff that I probably would just cut a new one, and also that's why you do it out of cardboard first. So you're not wasting steel or Kydex or whatever the 501st make their Stormtrooper armor out of. I have some Kydex for making like sheaths and details, and I was going to make some armor out of it at one point, but I don't think anything beats steel. Not even aluminum. It's way lighter and I guess more high tech, but still doesn't beat steel. All right, so we're going to cut out two of these, obviously one for each side. And I have these marked A and then nothing on the back, just because that lines up with the A side here. And then obviously this would be just flipped for that side. So I probably should label that B, but process of elimination, I think I'm good. So, all right. And we don't want to cut out one and then use it as as the template to mark out the other one. That's not a good practice to get into. Just because, you know, copy of a copy is always going to have more mistakes in it than just making a brand new perfect one. Try to put our long edge on our factory edge just to make life easier. One thing you want to watch out for too is when you're lining up with previous cuts, keep in mind if this metal was flipped over or moved around, there may be that curved undercut underneath this. So you'll cut your whole piece out and then flip it over, and there's a notch on the underside where you have that. Obviously, we didn't flip this over, so I don't have to worry about that too much, but just if you're working with metal, something to keep in mind. All right. Okay, cut that one out. Well, this is a 90, potentially. That's looking pretty good to me. I don't like butting them up either to make cuts. It's not, honestly, you can. I just don't like doing it because if you do it here, you have to really be careful cutting down that line. Here, with that grinder going in that, I can cut it a little fat and clean it up with the grinding wheel, and then polish it then refine it down to the line with the flap wheel like I was doing. If you have them, you know, butted up or, you know, butt them up like that to where they line up perfectly. One, you have to account for your cutting wheel blade width going down, so they can't be perfect. They have to be just close. But then you have to really be careful cutting in there, and a lot steadier and that, and it might be better in some areas, but I mean, I'm not really going to use this for much. So this area is just going to be the rest of those little plates going around that until it reaches the back plate, which I still need to design because I can't find any good pictures of Paz Vizsla's back plate, but I have the little action figure, and it's just a plate stamped on there, which I may have my leather chest piece. Where did I put that? Oh, here it is. This is an old one that I fought in for many years, so it's pretty beat up, but you can see on the front, it used to have muscles beaten into it, but they're long since faded. But you can see the front in there, and the back is just, there's really no shape to it. Because, I mean, if you lean back your head so far back to where you're going to hit that, you're not moving any further. It's not like your back is going to break like that. I mean, if it does, the armor's the least of your issues. But, so these back plates are easy to make. They're just a big, ugly block on your back. It's the other thing, I gotta make some armor stands. Get that stuff displayed in the shop, probably there in the back. Alright, so now I'm going to come in here with my cutting wheels, which this should be much easier. Yeah, these will be much easier to cut out than that big piece. It's kind of why I wanted to start with this too. One, this is the focal point and what everything's going to go off of. But two, it's the biggest piece. So like when I was over there with the grinding wheel is a lot more aggressive. So when I have this clamped here and it's all the way out here, this piece is vibrating so much that if you're not careful and that grinding wheel catches, it'll actually bend your piece. It'll actually just bend the steel. It's so aggressive and catches so much. So that's why I just had to hit, you know, part of it and then reclamp it on this side and then hit part of it and then clamp it here, hit this part, and then clamp it here and hit that part, kind of go half and half because these big long angles. These I won't have near as much trouble with. They'll go way quicker. And then I use the flap wheel to clean it up and clean the edges off so it's not sharp. Alright. I'm going to cut these out then. I'll probably cut this one, and then take my piece of steel, put it across, clamp it on there, and then do my cuts this way. This cut and that cut and this one. Just that way my whole thing doesn't fall off. It'll be held on by this tiny little thing, which I'm sure is plenty good enough. So, alright, I am going to mute for that though, because that's grinder work and it sounds horrible through the microphone. All right. Got our 2 pieces cut out here. So now we have this way. So they'll fit there and then actually be tilted in a little bit to give kind of that angle on the chest piece. So the 2 of them together like that. So the next step is to tack these on there. Tack these in place. Alright, so I gotta move my big piece of steel. And we're gonna set up the welder, and we're gonna do just 2 little tacks there. And then we're actually not gonna weld out the rest of it. Those 2 tacks will allow us to bend it and move it to get the right angles that we want, and they'll be a little more permanent than these. And then I can actually take this inside and continue to work the cardboard pieces off of that, keeping my templates, my templates. So in the future, if need be, we can do this armor again. All right, which then it should go much quicker. Just bend that over. All right, so for today, I assume I'm done with this. I don't think I have that much time left. No, we have 20 minutes till shut down, about 10-15 minutes till clean up. So, all right, I'm going to put this big sheet away, and then we'll see if we have enough time to tack those on. I think we will. All right. So we're going to have these here. Then we need to weld these on there at a bit of an angle. So, in order to do that, I'm going to use my welding magnets that I absolutely love. Got these at Harbor Freight for real cheap, and they are invaluable. So they'll hold my project to the table there, so I can't move it when I'm welding. There we go. There. Then this piece, probably not the exact angle that we're going to need to keep this at, but that's why we're just tacking it so we can adjust it from there. So for now, I'll just attach these on. So it's going to sit at a 45. Who knows, maybe 45 will work. But it gets me a good start. And added bonus, I know it's going to be even on this side too. It's not going to stay that way, of course, but it's nice to work with that. All right. So we're going to use the lowest power setting, and we're just going to do one little weld right in the middle. Hopefully this machine doesn't just blow through the edges of the metal. I'm a little nervous that it might, so I'll have to go real quick. Just a real small little tack. Okay, we're good. We didn't blow through. All right. I mean, we very easily could just snap that off, but we're going to try not to. This piece here. Nice and even with our table. All right, push it into our table there. We are lined up. Magnets in place. All right, we're gonna do another little tack right there. Good. We didn't blow through. All right. A new welder that I have that I just have to pull out and actually learn how to operate in that. I can, oh, it's going to make stuff like this so easy, so nice. All right. Let's see. Yeah, look, oh, well. All right. So that's going to be, you know what, I am going to quench this. Hold on. Burn my love handles on this thing. And can't reach it. Hell yeah. Yeah, we just tacked it, so yeah, it's not that hot. Okay. So this is how it's going to fit, because I am going to up here put a little bend in it, which will bring this down to there, and then this will come back to my throw. So about like that is how this is going to be fitting. So all right. Now I just need to add a couple pieces to the side. It's going to come back another piece here. It needs to come a little more flat than those ones that I had cut out. So it's going to angle down and then come flat to here, and then probably one more, and then it'll be attached to the back plate, which will be a similar type angle like that, but a much bigger piece. It's probably going to be one solid piece. I might end up to do the back piece. I've done it before on some armors. You can take just your chest plate. So because I know this has, you know, the good angles on it and that, and is relative to my body, I can take it and from the back here, just continue this over, just straight, so not have the indentation, so it comes up a little bit higher on the back of your neck. Still has these angles here, which will connect the two, the shoulder straps that go on there, which are just big plates. And then I can tie it into, if I do another set of these down here, then hopefully I can then tie both of them together with like a middle piece down there. And so then at least all these angles are relative, so when you look at it from the side, it kind of looks symmetrical. It looks like it matches. It doesn't look like out of place or hodgepodge together. And then as far as like the rest of the back, I might just the same thing that they're doing on the front, which on the front here, with this up, there's angled pieces, kind of an angled half moon almost shape that goes underneath, and there's 2 of those, and then there's like a belly guard that's just multiple layers coming down, and then that goes beneath the big combat belt that he wears. Or I've seen Mandalorians with big ooh, I almost broke that off. Tacks are not strong, they're just made to barely hold it on there. But I've seen some Mandalorians with like big sashes and that, or like a little loincloth hanging down, which I kind of like that look. Plus I'm supposed to be in armor since, you know, I am. So having a little shop towel there to wipe my hands on or something would be kind of a neat little addition. But anyway, I'll probably end up doing that for the back plate, adapting this, modifying it a little bit, maybe lengthen it, or have another piece that kind of comes down. So then when this piece goes down, it's a little more solid piece. But then I might, on the front, where it has those 2 bands that come across, I might do a couple bands in the back too. We'll have to see what it looks like. But yeah, alright, I think that's all the time we have for today. I am going to clean up the shop. What time is it? Yeah, it's 6:20, so I have about 10 minutes. I'm going to start cleaning up. Anybody has any questions? I don't have anybody in my ear today, so if you have questions, ask them, and I'll either answer them afterwards, or if I take a little break from cleaning or clean up early. So post them. And I will also be posting on my social medias and that to keep people updated on when the supplies open back up and I can get more of those helmet halves. Continue on the helmets, do the helmet right, not just get really excited to start putting something together that kind of looks like a Mandalorian helmet that doesn't have the angle points that I like, or is just takes way more work. So we'll keep everybody posted on that. But this wasn't bad for today. I think people will really enjoy seeing this armor actually take shape. Everybody loves a good set of armor. Oh, here are my very professionally done plans. It's my notebook that has just all this type of crap in it. Another thing you can do with, if you wanted to add kind of your own up armored version, if you have this, then just once you draw it on your steel, then come in and measure in about 1 inch. So you'd measure in 1 inch and draw the line all the way through it, and then measure 1 inch all the way through. You do that all the way around to make sure it stays the right ratios. And then take that piece, and then in the back here, cut either some big holes or a big chunk out of it or something like that, and then weld it in the back to it with these clamped together. So it looks, when you look at the front, it looks like one of these within another layer on top of it to kind of look like beefier armor to it. I've done that with leather before. I've done that with leather and then steel over the top of it, so it was still the same shape but way more protection. Sometimes it gives you kind of a cool look. I think this armor has enough like angle points and detail in that to not need something like that, but I know the shoulders kind of do. The shoulder straps have like a little raised part running down the middle, and I think the edges do too, so might do something a little different with that. Because again, I'm not making Paz Vizsla's specific armor. I'm making armor inspired by his. So, and there's nothing in any of the Mandalorian lore that says that you have to wear specifically this armor. They did wear specific armor because they had their own armors and they were making it out of Beskar. And if you're going to have armor, you might as well have the best armor. So, yeah, they were all pretty similar. But, yeah, I can modify it a little bit. This is my flavor. think that's about it. Thank you guys for watching today. Hopefully I'll get this up on YouTube soon. If anything, that's just for my own records. I just upload the raw footage onto YouTube. Hopefully, here in the near future, I can teach myself to use a video editing program and maybe start making some shorter videos, or like compiling together all the days that I spent working on like the hammer into one video, like 25 minutes or whatever YouTube says. So, hopefully soon. All right. Tomorrow will be more of the home and garden projects. Then I'll be coming back to start working on this again on Wednesday. But this Wednesday is going to, it's not going to be an all-day stream. It's just going to be in the afternoon or in the evening like these are, 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So, all right. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for everything. I'll see you guys tomorrow.